Hey guys, and welcome to the behind the scenes for URealms Sidequest. Almost said live. Guild of Explorers, the first of the Sidequests campaigns, and what a campaign it was! Oh boy, you think you can temper your expectations, but man, we're gonna get into that in a minute. First things first, I want to talk to you guys about I want to clear up some things about the side quests in general. Just to get clear you guys up on something, because I know some of you guys might not go to the subreddit or check out the social media stuff, so you might not see this otherwise, only if it's on the video. So first things first, yes, these campaigns are canon to the URealms live show universe, and it's all canon. Everything is canon. Trust me, I didn't know that initially when I went in. I thought this was going to be loose canon, but I'm just as happy with being full canon because that's cool. Because, we get more different ideas. Rob ideas, Deadbones ideas. Yay, a whole mesh pot of ideas. Some good, some bad. Mostly the bad on my part. But, Carpenter Holding was a solid idea. Until, again, we'll get into that. The other things I want to go over with you guys is to let you guys know that, so these campaigns, the idea behind them is they're easy to do campaigns, and well, I don't want to say easy to do, but easy to do in the sense that it just needs to have a campaign written, and then Megan Zor does the maps, and then that's it. That's all we need. Then character creation, players, we're done. So what that means is there's no new puppet assets. There's no new puppet stuff. There won't probably be any new puppet stuff unless we jury rig one of my hats onto a Roman's puppet, but there won't be anything new. You probably won't see any new tiles unless I go out of my way to make custom tiles, which I might have to do every now and then, but it's not going to be very frequent. You're not going to see any new playable races. You're not going to see any new playable classes. You're not going to see any new treasure cards, accessories, all that stuff. You are going to see new stuff in the sense that I'm going to do things like the carpet and things, of that nature, where they're not necessarily a treasure card, but they're still a thing that I give to the guys that they might not know what it does, but I know what it does, and I ask them if they want to inspect it to see if they want to know figure out what it does, and if they don't, well then whatever, they don't know what it does, and it's a whole fun thing. So what I really want to explain with this is the puppet stuff. So because we're not having any new assets and such for the puppets, every puppet that I end up using as the game master for these campaigns are going to be puppets that we already had made, and that probably maybe have even shown up in previous campaigns. That doesn't mean that they're the same characters. For example, I had to use the O'Malley puppet for Biggin because I didn't have anything to represent them, because I didn't know that those guys were going to talk to him. I didn't think that they'd try to do the diplomatic route with Biggin, so I had to use the O'Malley puppet. Duke, he was his thing. And I had to use the Breadbeard puppet for. Let me zoom in on this guy. I had to use the Breadbeard puppet for the Peddler. Yes, that's right. His name is the Peddler, but I've seen some people call him Breadbeard. You can call him. He doesn't really have a name. His name is just the Peddler. He was a character, but we'll get into that in a minute. So, what I need you guys to do for these campaigns, these side quest campaigns, what I'd like you guys to do is to use your imaginations when a puppet you've seen before comes out, and not think that's X character because it's the same puppet. Like if I brought out the Nessie puppet, doesn't mean it's actually Nessie. It's just I'm using the puppet to represent the character. Now a lot of times, at least in this, I think I did it at least once, where I started to give a physical description of a character if I thought they looked a little different than they would on the tile. I think I did it with the Peddler here, where I was he's got one eye is bigger than the other, he's hunched over, if he was stood up straight, he'd probably be 6, 7 foot tall, yada yada yada. If I do that, it's probably because this character probably doesn't look like they do on the tile. But you guys are used to using your imaginations for this stuff. I mean, if you would have thought every character was looking exactly like their puppet, all of my characters would be fucking skeletons. So, which they're not. So I think you guys can handle the suspension of belief that this puppet is not this character I know, it's this whole new character that Deadbones is using the puppet for. I will actually use my puppet in case I don't have anything else to use. Nothing fits, I'm going to have to use my puppet, so I'll be using my puppet for certain things. So there's that. What else was I going to talk about? Damn, I lost my train of thought now. Let's talk about the puppet stuff. Suspension disbelief. Oh yeah, so don't worry about a lot of the stuff with the puppets. Like I'm gonna try and avoid major characters like Gwyneth and Phineas and Virgo. Like though you probably won't see me use those puppets, but like characters like what's her name? The Medusa lady, Heavenworth, whatever. I don't remember her name. The lady that turned into the Medusa in the Gobos campaign. If I use her puppet, then you know it's because I need an elven lady kind of thing. If I use, say, the Paladin Commander from Gobbo Zapat, it's because I wanted to have a dwarf that looked like this and didn't look like the guards or something. So, you know, just suspension of disbelief. I think that was everything to do with, like, the side quest stuff. Also, no, I'm not used to DMing. I've only ever DM'd twice previously to this in my life, and that was years ago in college and in D&D, which is a completely different beast because in D&D you can hide behind numbers and everybody's got their own little rule book and things are way easier to bullshit. All right, I think it's time we actually get into the meat and potatoes of this chaos, this campaign of torture and misery. It was fun. That's the thing. At the end of the day, as long as everyone had fun, it doesn't matter that the campaign ended really early in comparison to like what it would have had they done the full campaign. And yeah, of course, I'm like a little upset that, you know, we didn't get to do all the stuff and we didn't get to meet characters and stuff. But, you know, that's the way it goes. That's the cool thing about these side quest campaigns. That's something I could talk about. That's another cool thing about the side quest campaign is because that we don't have to use donation events, there aren't set story beats that we have to kind of get to. You know, like we can have a campaign like this where they don't do anything that I had initially planned. They do nothing. They stay on this one tiny little area of the map for the entire campaign, and that's fine. That's the thing I want you guys to be able to get used to, is that sometimes the side quest campaigns aren't going to be as long as the live show campaigns, and that's okay. Yeah, again, I was a little sad that we didn't get to do all the fun, cool stuff I had planned and written out, but that's fine, because I'm probably just going to reuse all of this in the future at some point anyway, which is why I'm not going to talk about any of this, or the second map. Yes, there was a second map, weirdly enough. I'm just going to talk about what happens up here, all the stuff that happened up in here. So I think first, how does Rob usually do this? He talks about the characters first, right? Oh, the characters. The guys had pretty great characters this week. I have to say that I really enjoyed almost everyone's characters this week, with Roman's just being standout. The war vet thing. Oh man, it was really good. I really liked that character. Chip Chop was fantastic. Nimble ass Chip Chop didn't say much, but man, he's just dodging all the attacks. Poor Ko. Oh, poor Ko. This campaign wasn't very kind to Ko, but neither were his teammates. But you know what? Apparently that's what happens when 3 gnomes and a dwarf hang out, right? It happened in Roman's Band of Thieves, where there were 3 gnomes and a dwarf, and they all shat on the dwarf. Well, there's 3 gnomes and a dwarf, and they shit on the dwarf. Jimmy Blant, gender fluid Jimmy Blant. God. Yeah, I had to write that down. Jimmy Blant, fantastic. Really, really fun. Rob really wanted to do the super creepy but nice, diplomatic character, like friendly character, who was gonna like try and be diplomatic and stuff. But every time he tried to be diplomatic, it didn't really go too well, did it? All right, yeah. So the guys start up here. I'm not gonna move tiles around because I'm probably gonna break something if I do. I'm not used to doing tabletop sim stuff. So at the start of this campaign, I was expecting the guys to just do what they did and, you know, look around. Rob found a rock. Was the rock important? Had he rolled a 20? Sure. If Rob rolled a 20 on the rock, it would have been a very important plot piece I would have written in. Otherwise, it's just a rock. So first thing the guys do, they have their conversation, and they end up... I just introduced the peddler to them. Or Breadbeard, whatever you guys want to call him. I've just got him written down here as the peddler. He didn't have a name. He was supposed to be a vastly different character, But I decided, like, hey, you know what? With these characters and the way this is probably going to start going, I'm just going to go with crazy old Shopkeep. So he was fun. Um, so the first thing that happened, I guess, was the guys trying to get, they were trying at the start to get information until, you know, Jimmy Blant didn't like the taste of the beard. But wait, no, Jimmy Blant couldn't have tasted, doesn't have taste buds. Jimmy Blant didn't trust him, so Roman Neuralink gunned, and all of that chaos which had him dump the scrolls out, and then we went on to the donkey. Oh, the donkey. Now that was fun. The donkey was just there for flavor. The donkey didn't have any real purpose, unless somehow the guys had made it to the point where this donkey might have been important. Maybe they bought the donkey. Maybe they used the donkey to carry something. I don't know. Would have been dependent on what those guys decided to do. But that poor donkey just got annihilated by these guys. Just completely destroyed. And like Justin rolled the one to rip the poor things out. So at that point, I had the old man come out, and this was the point where I thought, like, I'm not going to be able to do this character the way I initially wrote him. So the easiest thing for me to do is to just say he just drops the stuff and he goes off, and like all of these stalls are his, by the way. I don't know if that came up, but these stalls they all have things in them, but they're all run by this guy, and that was the joke I was going to do, that if they kept going to all these different stalls, he would just be running to go to each one of them, but dragging his little kobold slave girl, who had a name, who had plot significance, potentially, but for never will now be known as unnamed kobold girl. Unnamed kobold slave girl. So the first encounter, I guess, technically would have been with Duke and the gang. I like Duke. I enjoyed the character that I created for Duke. We didn't get to see that fleshed out because of what happened with freaking carpet. And I guess I should talk about the carpet and the magical items that the guys got. So, because of the lack of treasure cards, that I'm not making any new treasure cards for these campaigns, it lets me do something that I really like in role-playing games, which is you get an item, you don't know what the fuck it does. Like, you can, in D&D, if you got an item, you do an Arcana check or a Religion check or whatever to see if you can identify if there's any magical properties or whatever, and if you roll well enough, like, oh, you know that it does this. And like, I gave the guys the option. I said, hey, do you want to inspect it? And if they inspect it, and depending on how they roll, it depends on how much I tell them about it. Like, you know, they roll like 10 or lower. I said, if they roll like a 10, but 10 to 6, I'd say like, it's magical. You know that much. You don't know exactly what it does. They roll a 1, they just think it's a fucking carpet. They roll a 20, I tell them exactly what it does and how it functions and, you know, all that goodness. So the 3 magical items that I dropped here for these guys from the peddler, who was, his whole point was to try and give them or sell them these items, along with other things such as the slave girl and potentially the donkey, but I guess that didn't really pan out. The carpet. Oh, the carpet. The bane of this campaign for me, which is sad because I was really proud of myself when I thought, yeah, carpet of holding. That's a hilarious idea. That's amazing. And it's like, yeah, it's going to be great. One of them is going to fall into it. I get to describe the whole bubble world thing, which I had a vague idea of, but I had no idea. The rest, all of that was just, I'm going to pull it out the top of my head, see what we get. But I had no real clue as to how deep this whole thing would have gone. And then there was the lamp and the brooch. Now, I'm not going to actually tell you guys what the brooch and the lamp do, because there's still a chance that these characters show up in the future, and they still have those items. So I'm just going to leave it open-ended for you can speculate, but I'm not going to say shit. Let's just say they were pretty cool, too. They were along the same lines as the carpet. They were funny. I thought they were funny, at least. So then we had Duke and the gang come up. Duke and... I have my notes here. Duke, Short Stuff, Roundhouse, Biff, Tiny, and Big, and I think I missed one. I think there was one unnamed guy because I gave an extra dude at some point. Let's just get this out of the way first. They weren't supposed to fight these guys right at the start. And if they were going to fight them, which I did have the probability these guys are going to fight these guys, Duke was going to be there. And Duke would have allowed me to artificially end the encounter. Essentially, Duke was potentially two different characters depending on how I wanted to do it. Again, I'm not going to go into details because the character's still alive, so he could show up and I might do him some other way or whatever. But Duke could have been two different characters that would have had a way of artificially ending the combat between the guys. But fucking Rob with the carpet and the 20, and Duke went straight into the carpet and Duke was gone. So the only natural reaction I could have is, well, these guys just saw their leader, who, again, like, I like the people, like, they point out the whole Ginyu similarity of, oh, Ginyu, the Ginyu Force all died. Yeah, the Ginyu Force all died. Except, these guys actually survived. But Duke I didn't plan for Duke going into the carpet at the very start. Like, straight up, their first encounter, like, I expected them to talk to Duke and the gang, to exchange some words, barbs, whatever. Duke obviously doesn't like them, but they weren't going to fight them. They were just going to be like antagonists, rivals. And then they'd go on their way and they'd continue doing what they were doing. Because their first encounter was supposed to be against a bunch of snakes. Just a bunch of... It was like 5 snakes and a big snake. That's it. That was the encounter. I was starting off real simple. It was like, here you go. These are some enemies that you should be able to beat really fucking easily. Because, man, I did not account for these guys' damage. Like, straight up. Like, we did the character creation and the recording of this on the same day. So we just went straight in from character creation to this. So I had no idea about the amount of damage that, like, fucking Roman and, like, Rob were outputting. Mostly Roman, with his fucking blinking and foam over plume staffing. So I flubbed the numbers. I can tell you guys straight up, I flubbed the numbers on all the NPC's health, because had I left them at the original amounts I had them at, Roman would have killed Biggin in, like, 3 to 4 turns. So I was like, alright, we're just gonna triple that, as numbers go up. If you guys noticed that the stamina costs for the guys weren't always exact to what I was saying, that's because I don't actually control, like, Rob has to control the stamina for me. So if Rob, like, doesn't hear me say something, or if I just don't think to say, hey Rob, can you do this for me? Like, then there's gonna be things missing, but that's whatever. Accidents happen. Just like any 18s that Justin rolled. He didn't get any of his booty because I'm not used to doing this. And, well, he didn't have any room for it anyway, so that's a good excuse. So Duke went in the carpet, and then all hell broke loose. So then, I guess Rob he did the bubble thing, right? He did the barrier, and he tried the diplomatic route. I'll give him credit. And, it could have worked, but I just couldn't resist the idea that sound doesn't travel through the bubble, the barrier, sorry, so that I could do that joke, because I just thought it was really funny. But had they not done that, potentially they could have talked the group down, or maybe figured out how the carpet worked to get Duke back. So the combat, like, those guys, they just started going nuts on that thing. The old man at this point, and the kobold girl, they were just carrying behind the stall. These guards just fucked off. These guards, like, they didn't... I think I saw some comments, people saying, like, why didn't the guards step in to do something? Well, my rationale was the guards are just hired to protect the city, and this isn't the city. This is none of their business, so they don't want to get involved with any weird carpet dimension shit. So these guys just fucked off into the unnamed desert city of whatever. Just trying to think what else really happened in the combat. There was a lot of blinking, and I know, like, in the new live campaigns, usually when we blink a lot, Rob would punish us for it a bit more heavily than I definitely did in this. You can chalk that up to either inexperience or being overwhelmed. I personally think it's probably because I've just got fucking overwhelmed. This was the getting overwhelmed campaign. Like, straight up from the moment Duke went in the carpet was when I thought, well, fuck. Time to put on my improv boots and see where this goes, because I had no idea that these guys would all go in. I planned for, like, one of them to go in. Didn't plan for all of them to go in like they did, but it was pretty good for that. Justin rolled his 1. He got his Grimshade skeleton. He's a pretty cool guy. All these guys, like, they were... Like, the guys didn't finish the combat, but, like, if they had come back out of the bubble world, like, they could have won. Like Duke was like not after taking a lot of damage, but like they were down to one ad and like this guy, and he was after taking some hits too. It's like they could have done it, but these characters wouldn't have. And you know, you got to give the guys props for sticking to these bumbling idiot characters. just the biggest bunch of morons. Not even like Jimmy Blunt, you know, good intentions. This fucking war vet who's just going nuts and attacking everything. Chip Chop, who just, you know, Chip Chop. And poor misfortunate Slap, the punching bag. So like everything that happened in here was just, I was just going like, all right, I knew a base idea that this is like a bubble world, because I didn't want to do is it traditional? Normally, at least to my knowledge, like in a bag of holding, it's a pocket dimension with no air or nothing. It's just like floating in a void, and then like each thing has its own individual void, I think, or it's a pocket dimension, I guess. But like if you put something living in there, it would die because there's no air. And I thought, well, that's no fun. I want something silly. So I thought, I know, bubble. So having these guys all go into the bubbles, I didn't think that they'd start fighting in the bubbles. So that's when I had to start making up the rules of, well, I guess magic passes through, but people can't, because otherwise everything would just fall out of the bubble. So that wouldn't make any sense. And all that nonsense that went on with that. Like, poor Duke. Like, Duke didn't even get a chance to do anything. And in some ways, that's a good thing. You know, he had some stuff. He had some cool things to do. But, you know, we ended up in fucking Carpet World. Because, logically, from the viewpoint of these characters, this is a way out. It's a portal. They don't know it's a bubble world because none of them got out except Roman. For the 20 that people are like, oh, Deadbones, where's 20? And Rob was like, oh, no, let's fuck Deadbones over for that 20. But the options were, basic. I think I even said one of the options in it, but straight up, I think overwhelmed, I've already said, is probably the best term. So I was like, well, fuck, I just want to try and get this, maybe salvage the campaign somehow. So I'm like, I'm going to get Roman out of the Carpet World. Because then Roman's doing pretty well. He could probably take out like Biggin and then the Duke's guy and Duke potentially. And then they could continue the campaign. But then they went back in the bubble. Like otherwise, all I would have had done, I would have either had Roman teleports into Duke and they both just fucking mash into some sort of horrid viscera of just... They'd both be dead basically. Or they teleport out of the bubble and either they'd fall into a void eternally, or they'd go into another bubble automatically. Like, I wasn't going to have Roman kill him on a 20 because that's stupid. Whenever would you have a character, like I don't want to say boss, but a boss-ish character die from just a 20? That doesn't, you know. From a 1, if you fuck up and you roll a 1 on something that, like when I rolled a 1 throwing fruit into the chasm, totally fine. But like a 20, like this guy that's barely taken, like he's taken some damage, but not enough for me to go, oh yeah, you just fucking killed him. Like, yeah, people can go bullshit on it, but I stand by that decision, and I will not back down on it. I think it was the right decision to make, and you guys can complain all you want. So we end. I gave them a last-ditch effort with Biggin getting pulled out, presumably by Duke, or Robert, or Stacy, or whatever the hell. Again, Biggin wasn't supposed to talk. Biggin was supposed to just be like... Like, he wasn't supposed to have a fucking voice, but then things just got to the point where they had to. So now we have these guys trapped in their bubble world in this place where they're not supposed to be, but again, little sad that we didn't get to do the full campaign, but again, I can reuse all this stuff at some point. We can do this again proper or whatever. I've got the assets. This might like minor changes. We can still do this at some point in the future, not for a while, but eventually. But what we got is this really cool bag of holding world. Again, I think we said as much at the end of the campaign, where we're talking. This is a really cool idea that these guys are now trapped in this place where they shouldn't be, and the idea that these guys are just in this all-encompassing bag of holding dimension is a really fun, neat idea to visit again in future campaigns, either in the live show or in side quests. And it's just, you know, that's the way it went, right? Like, yeah, we didn't get to do the big boss fight and all the silly characters that I might have had, but you know what? Like I said before, if the guys had fun, which they did, And if I had fun, which I did, despite everything going chaotic, that's this was a good show. Was it funny? Yeah, hell it was. The first 2 episodes was just constant laughter, where they just did all this dumb shit with the donkey. So I hope you guys enjoyed the side quest. I hope you enjoy any future side quests. I hope, the third hope, that I can improve on the areas where I'm lacking. Mostly that's just in with like general game control. Again, not really used to DMing. Definitely not used to doing any of this stuff in tabletop. Like I did this with no practice. I was like, oh, I don't know how the tabletop works. But Rob gave me a crash course and we got that going. So yeah, again, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm sorry if it wasn't like what you guys expected. Hopefully, one of the future ones will be more to your liking. And I think that's about it. Talked about the puppet. Yeah, no, I think that's pretty much everything. I don't think I've got anything else. Nope. That's about it. All right. Well, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next URealms side quest. I really wanted to say URealms live there again. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.